So James Bond, this is Daniel Craig's last hurrah. He's been James Bond for 15 years, um, which is impressive run. This James Bond series, I'll be honest, I responded a little bit more to this. The past James Bond, outside of a couple of clips and maybe a few that I've seen, they're just unwatchable. Like if you ever go back and watch GoldenEye.
You didn't like it? See, I loved GoldenEye.
I love the game.
The game was my brother and I loved that game. Are we recording about it?
Yeah, we are.
GoldenEye was my introduction to Bond. And I remember my only knowledge of Sean Connery was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
It wasn't Highlander?
No. And so I remember watching GoldenEye in the movie theater, and that was when Pierce Brosnan started as Bond. He looked great, he was fresh, he was fun, you know. And then I learned that Sean Connery was the original James Bond, and I didn't even recognize him, like, because I remembered him from Indiana Jones, and he was an older guy, right? And then, yeah, after GoldenEye, like even Pierce Brosnan himself admitted, yeah, GoldenEye was the only Bond I did. After that, like,
they became
didn't count.
Yeah, they were. It was almost too super spy for the time, right? Yeah, there was Timothy Dalton, James Bond. There was Sean Connery. I'm missing one.
Roger Moore and George Lazenby, the one he did.
George Lazenby, which and again, the concept of James Bond. Super spy, takes his time, enjoys the finer things in life. He's a man who just...
A gentleman spy.
A gentleman spy. And what I love about him were the gadgets, of course. Like a lifestyle. You know, you could easily see James Bond magazine and like reading it like more than a spy. It was a lifestyle. Daniel Craig gets hired. Casino Royale.
That was the first Bond I ever saw.
What do you think of that one, actually?
I loved it.
Yeah?
It's such a great movie.
Same here. First one was...
It made poker, like, really interesting.
Yeah. It was the Batman Begins of James Bond.
Well said.
And they came out like a year apart. So it was a time when Hollywood was starting to reboot everything. The idea of the reboot was becoming... Yeah.
Less campy, more
right.
gritty.
Yeah.
He was
9/11, all that.
Yeah, he was very... Because post 9/11, there was this kind of, I guess, faux realism that took place in film. I'm not sure if that's even a word, but there was this gritty, combative. James Bond was not... He was going to get his hands dirty. He felt like Jason Bourne, just with a better suit and, you know...
I forget, did the first Jason Bourne, the Bourne Identity, did that come out before Casino Royale?
I want to
Yeah, I think like 2002 was the first Bourne Identity, so about 4 years or so.
Yeah.
I think that might have been why.
Yeah.
They saw how well the Bourne Identity did, and they were like, let's do that, but with James Bond.
And it was really good. Then Quantum of Solace. Now, Quantum of Solace is not the best, but there was something else taking place. There was a writer's strike, which, you kind of feel, okay, I give it a pass because I realized there was a writer's strike.
I honestly think it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. I think, and I told Brett this before, the fact that it wasn't like a standalone Bond movie, that it picked up right where the last one left off, I think that threw all those like diehard James Bond fans for a loop, and they were just like, and then they just like immediately like clicked off. They were like, nope, I don't even care, not even gonna watch this movie.
So you're gonna hate what I'm about to say, Craig. There's another movie that's a big disappointment that also starts where the previous movie finishes.
No.
Last Jedi.
That movie.
And they always suck when that happens, right? And so Quantum is because you can't match that previous one. You just can't.
Well, no, to counter that, you had two movies, right? The Bourne Identity and then the Bourne Supremacy, which picked up right after the other one. They picked off right because at the end of the
Supremacy's the third one. What's the second?
No,
Ultimatum's the third one.
Ultimatum's the third one. Because at the end of one is Jason Bourne goes into, or maybe it was because Jason Bourne goes into, like, I think at a hospital, I'm not sure, but it picks up right after that. It's one continuous story that's just broken up. So you also have, no, I don't think Batman The Dark Knight is well, it takes place a year after Batman Begins, so, but anyway, so Quantum of Solace, okay, it had then we go to Skyfall. I did not like it. Essentially,
Really?
yeah, it just felt
Really?
like James Bond Home Alone, and
Like that.
I never thought
I
of
love
that.
the honest trailer for that.
yeah, because it literally is James Bond Home Alone, and Dame Judi Dench, of course, as M. And all I keep thinking is like, why can't you just be a good boy and listen to your mom? Stop being a jerk. And it was.
Also, you know, the old guy was supposed to be Sean Connery.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
supposed
that's
to.
right. I love Skyfall in the theater. I remember it was one of those movies I saw. I'm just like, whoa, this is amazing. And like, I thought it was great at the time, but it's one of those movies where later you think about like, actually, there's a lot of dumb things. Like the whole thing, like having the terrorist guy like follow them to James Bond's home. Like, what?
Yeah.
And then right, it says James Bond home alone. Like, why didn't they have like a bunch of like British like Royal Marines hiding in the house ready? Like, they're just gonna leave Bond and M, who's an old lady,
Right.
defend for themselves. They could have had like Royal like Air Force like planes coming in like this.
And she dies.
I know. Bond fails. She dies.
Oh, it was-
Anyway, I thought it was overrated.
Like,
Yeah.
there were definitely, like you're saying, there were parts of it that were good, but the parts of it that were good don't make up for the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
Shitty.
I just couldn't get on board with that. And then we had Spectre, which I haven't seen. But
Oh,
I wanted to see
you should probably
Spectre
see
because
Spectre.
I wanted to see Spectre for two actors. Christoph Waltz, because it's Christoph Waltz. And for
Leah Sudol.
no, Monica Bellucci.
Oh, that's right.
Leah's
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that scene.
It's
Ugh.
before me too. It's bad.
He
oh,
bangs a widow on the day of her husband's funeral.
Yeah, like he goes up to her and totally unashamedly hits on her, like at
Which-
her funeral.
which is an actual, which we'll use
I
at
mean, she looks good. It was just weird.
It is
It's
so
just
But that's
really
the-
weird. Like, I remember,
that's what
I
everyone
liked-
told me.
I
It
liked
was a
the
long-
opening
slow. It's
sequence.
slow.
I like
Ah.
the opening sequence with the Dia de los Muertos parade and like all the like masks and stuff. Like that was really cool.
yeah.
But
The,
then the longer it went on, the more I was just like, I'm checked out of here.
Yeah, it was ever. Yeah.
but
so-
the artistry, the one thing that we could say the artistry about all the James Bond is the intro. They're almost like these mini music videos that are just really amazing to watch. And so I didn't see Spectre, but I heard it was and again such a beautiful sequence, so I will have to see it.
A lot of tentacles.
I'm out. And now, which brings us
No Time to Die.
No Time to Die. So, which is Daniel Craig's Goodbye. This is the 5th James Bond film, and it's been one heck of a ride. I'm gonna open it up to you guys. What do you guys thought of it? Like going in, what did you guys think of the overall, just the Daniel Craig era? Because I think we'll go into the movie itself, but just what are the fond memories, if any, or of that era?
More bad than good. Like or Casino Royale was a really good start,
Mm-hmm.
but then it kind of just kept faltering. Like there was just enough in each movie to make you keep watching it, but there wasn't enough that made me think like, oh yeah, like this franchise is like really really good. And I mean, the thing that kept me coming back was like Daniel Craig is a really good Bond. He's just a great actor in general, and they always look good in the trailers. So I'm like, I'll see it. So I mean, it's just kind of generally a disappointing blockbuster franchise, I think. But then again, I haven't revisited a lot of the movies recently. If I
Right.
sat down and I watched all 5, in a weekend, maybe I'd feel differently.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Craig as James Bond. I was actually messaging with a friend of mine who's from the UK the other day, and I said, yeah, it's bittersweet to see Craig go. I think he was the best Bond, and my friend Graham was like, Sean Connery, man. And I did watch some of Dr. No. I'm like, yeah, Sean Connery, he's just so cool. He just like oozes that theme song, ding, 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 or whatever.
Yeah.
The problem with Connery's Bond is like, oh my gosh, do you think Daniel Craig's Bond is bad with like Me Too stuff?
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh
Ignore all that
gosh.
stuff.
Don't worry, we'll get to that. But we're just talking about
Yeah.
this era of Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Casino Royale came out in my junior year in college, which was my favorite year of college. So I had those kind of very fun, nostalgic memories of going to see Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Die Another Day in the movie theater with the girl I was dating in high school. And I remember just like, it was like, Pierce Brosnan looks just really old. He doesn't even care about the role anymore. He's just doing this for the money. Like, that movie sucked. And so
Which is funny because I was supposed to see Die Another Day with my mom, and then we ended up going to see Solaris instead, which is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
And I actively told my mom when we walked out of the theater, I was like, we should have gone to see Die Another Day because it couldn't have been any worse.
You probably were wise to see Solaris.
No,
Yeah, Casino Royale, I loved it because it was just it was gritty, it was real, you know, and there was a real intriguing story, and I loved how they started over with Bond, right? And this is a whole new Bond from the Brosnan and the Connery and all the other Bonds, and it's a post 9/11 world. It's an interesting story. He's like a real gritty person, you know. And yeah, same thing. Quantum of Solace is like, yeah. And then Skyfall was like, I loved it at first, like, I guess it was okay. Didn't see Spectre actually, and then I went right into No Time to Die.
Yeah.
And I thought Craig as Bond was fantastic, perfect for a post 9/11 world Bond. Great actor. No Time to Die itself. Okay, well, the overall.
Yeah,
Craig
overall.
Bonds. Yeah, I agree with Corinne. Like, you know, I would say mostly good though. I think he was a great choice as James Bond because he was different. You know, he had blonde hair or whatever. You know.
Well, that's right.
Yeah,
because there was a moment in time. Believe it or not, that was one of the
People
biggest.
were angry about it.
People were angry about it when James Bond was cast. It's like you have to
I'm
understand.
hoping for a black James Bond. I think it should happen. Yeah.
It's going to, but you also have to understand. Like same year in same year when I saw Casino Royale. One, I just thought it was a fun word to say. Just Casino Royale. I'm like,
Casino
Royale just sounds so cool. But
I think that was one of the first Bond novels or whatever that Ian Fleming wrote, right?
I'm not sure. I probably have to look into
Short
it. But
story, something like that, maybe.
Yeah. But I love there was this European elegance to it, and it was a post 9/11 world, and there was a lot of uncertainty. And here was this movie. It was sleek. It was tailor-made. It's almost as if someone said, let's just make this movie, and they did 26 drafts, and they would keep like finding his way to correct it. It was the physicality was the thing that really threw me off. They showed a quick trailer teaser. They would do that, like it was the chase in the beginning of Casino Royale, and there was all this parkour elements of James Bond. You right out of the gate. I remember my friends and I were talking like this one could definitely beat Sean Connery. It's like it was the parkour James Bond. It was so, again, more good than bad. They're just, and again I have to watch Spectre, but
I can't believe I'm the only one who's seen Spectre of the three of us.
because Spectre,
I've seen like 20 minutes of it.
yeah, the thing with Spectre was when there was so much hype because of the casting, and Christoph Waltz was coming off of Oscar, Monica Bellucci is Monica Bellucci, and there was this, it's now James Bond has to now fight this amazing network, and it felt very Hydra, like the Hydra, and I just didn't focus.
I mean, Christoph Waltz's Blofeld was a great casting.
Oh no, yeah, Christoph Waltz, he can
play anything.
But so
I
now
really want to see him as Mary Poppins now.
I don't.
Said that.
but now that we're so his tenure as James Bond finally is ending. So here we are at No Time to Die, the final installment of James Bond. So you guys had a chance to go see it.
It's been like a week plus.
A week plus. I saw it today. So you know, let's hear your first impressions. What did you guys think of this movie?
It was okay. I mean, I want to see it again.
Oh no! It's like it's okay. It's like, well, that's not a promising.
I have problems with the ending and the direction that they chose to take it.
By the way,
yeah.
If you haven't seen it, we are going to spoil this movie. So,
Yes.
we kind of softballed you into the conversation. You might want to check out now because we're just going to spoil this movie.
I appreciate that they tried to keep a lot of the continuity from like this era of James Bond. You know, they brought back Felix Leiter, they referenced Vesper. You know, it really does feel like they're trying to tie a lot of these loose ends together. The problem is that then they just kind of like blow that all up in the last like 10 minutes. So it's like, okay, well then what was even the point, I guess?
Yeah. I was so excited to go see it. I loved it. I loved every second of it up until the last 5 to 10 minutes. 5 minutes.
Well, you know,
loved it.
Since we're talking about that, let's talk about the last 5 to 10 minutes.
Jerry, you and I saw Last Jedi. Do you remember how full of hate? I think I was actually like... Do you remember, like, I was like basically pure evil when we left The Last Jedi.
Yeah, that poor waiter just
I
didn't see
publicly
it
called
coming.
for the arrest and prosecution of Ryan Johnson, which I take back. That was wrong. I'm sorry.
Was it?
That's the way I felt when I left No Time to Die.
Wow.
Bruh, you
Yeah.
should have been there when we were at the restaurant like last Friday night, and you were just like yelling. You're like, I hope you don't care. I'm gonna spoil the new James Bond movie.
I told it to like the waitress, like
The
people next
sitting
to us.
Yeah.
I loved it up until the last freaking 5 minutes.
Okay, but let's dig into this right now. So let's
I have
tackle.
so many
But
problems
I
with
have-
how they ended it.
Let's.
It
Well,
has grown in me.
well. Oh, come on! Don't do
Well,
this.
But I would have. No, I hate the ending.
All right, let's. So.
What do you think of the ending, Jerry?
So first of all, I would
Or
say.
just the movie in general?
I like the movie because I honestly felt like James Bond grew up. The thing with James Bond, when I grew up watching it, it was this. It always lacked the maturity. I always wanted a little. Even as a kid, it was always like, yeah, let's go into the next adventure, but what are the stakes and consequences that he feels? Like I always wanted some kind of weight to it, and I honestly felt like James Bond was a little bit more grown up. I mean, it just. You can't make a movie like you could make a movie like Casino Royale now. You could, it'd still be a fun movie, but I went in going, I know all the beats of the movie. I already know how this is gonna go. He's gonna go, there's a weird mission, he has to stop villain A. And he needs women to help him stop villain A. Women, he meets women or contact. Contact leads him to other women that he falls in love with, who secretly works for villain A. Backstabs him, but he fell in love with her. She dies, and that's motivation to stop villain A. And I just was sitting there going like, here are all the beats, and I went in. No, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, exactly, and I agree. Like, and I think that's why the ending disappointed me, because it seems like he has grown up and he has changed. There's clearly a post Me Too thing going on there.
Well, okay,
And-
so there's a couple of things we need to talk about, right? So I did put them in a little bit of an order. So we're gonna talk about the Me Too and the role of. We're gonna talk about all these things because they affect the medium. Whether, and it's not like we want to keep bringing it up, but this stuff, this concept and this perception of how women, sex, and all that is being depicted has changed, especially from us who've seen these movies. So let's talk about the last 5 minutes, because I feel as though once we can tackle that, we'll be able to extrapolate everything else. So I'll start with you, Brett. The last 5 minutes. Why did it make you yell at the poor innocent people who came into work that night?
I almost threw my keys. I pretended I was throwing them. My Bible study guys were like, whoa. Dang.
So let's talk about that. What's with the 5 minutes?
All right, so okay. Trying to collect my thoughts. My hope was that they have like a Dark Knight Rises style ending. Like, you think he's dead, but he's alive, and like Bruce Wayne, you know, he has been burdened by the life of being Batman, right? And he's free from that now. Batman dies, Bruce Wayne resurrects. He moves on with his life, right? And it seemed like that was the way they were going with Bond. Like, how amazing! As far as I know, they never had Bond have a child before. Yes, spoiler alert, he has a daughter. Like that. There's so much Christian imagery there. You know, he reconnects with the love of his life. They have a daughter. Like, you know, that's beautiful. And like, they could end it with him actually being with it, being free of the life of being the spy and the murderer and the misogynist and everything that he is. You know, he can like end that way and move on and give the 007 thing to Naomi or whoever. You know, he can move on. And like, after a year and a half of COVID and we haven't been able to go to movie theaters that much, and like, you know, what ticks me off is like, you know, sometimes filmmakers, they want to do something different, right? Like, oh, let's make Luke Skywalker an old bitter jerk, you know, like, you know, it's like, 'cause that's, I don't know, more artsy or something, right? I don't know.
Yeah, they made him into Grizzly Adams.
Audiences like to see the characters they love happy. That is a very simple rule.
Yeah.
You know, James Bond, he's a very flawed character, but how awesome to make him into a changed character and give him a beginning, which they start in Casino Royale, and then a peaceful end in No Time to Die, right? By the way, why do they call it No Time to Die if he dies? So anyway, there's that too. Like, you know, I hated seeing a guy gets so close to like having knowledge of being at peace, and then he's blown up by
Yeah.
His own Navy's missiles. Oh, he got poisoned too, and he got shot. Like, why was he wearing a bulletproof vest? Sorry. Anyway, sorry, I ranted quite a bit.
No, keep going.
Yeah, all those things.
Okay, that makes sense. Corinne,
Yeah.
let's jump into that.
I told Brett that the how it should have ended YouTube video is gonna be, or one of them is gonna be James getting in the boat with his family instead of Nomi, and Nomi is gonna go off and do, the rest of the mission instead of him. And I'm like, yeah, there you go, problem solved.
Problem solved.
Yeah, he gets to be with his family. She gets to complete the mission as 007 or whatever. Bing bang boom. Like, why can't you? No, it's just I'm with Brett on this. Like,
yeah,
just I don't understand why did you have to? Okay, so you shoot him 3 times or whatever, so he's already like bleeding out.
Yeah.
And he has to open the pod bay doors or whatever. Yeah, that's a 2001 Space Odyssey reference. Anyway, the pod bay doors, Hal. He has to open the doors.
Right.
And now he's been poisoned with the nanobites or whatever, nanobits. I don't know, whatever. What did they call it?
Nanobots.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what was it? Oh, Heracles.
Yeah.
So then he's get the Heracles stuff on all over him, so he can never be with Madeline or Matilda or whatever ever again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, you just why did you have to do all of that? You could have done like pick 2. Why did you need all 3?
Okay.
Okay, so he bleeds out, but then he can, why did you have to poison him? And he's gonna die anyway. Like, what does it matter? I guess just because, Safin or whatever is just an asshole. Like, aha, dastardly. You'll never see them again, except you're gonna die anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, so
And also, like,
go ahead.
I just wanted to see, I'm with Brett. I wanted him to live, and even if he couldn't see them ever again, I'm like, you could always just, like, see them from a distance. Of like, everything we've been doing with COVID.
Zoom with
social distance.
You could social
Zooming.
distance.
You could do, like, a little plastic sheet, quarantine, we're behind the glass or something, like, you could still spend some amount of time with them, even if you could never, like, physically touch them ever again. And presumably they would find a cure later. Like, obviously, if they make something like that, they're gonna have to make, like, a cure.
Yeah. The reason I like the movie, and everything you guys said was right. When I went in today, I still like the movie, but here are some issues that I had, right? So one of the first issue was the villain, Safin, first of all, that was a cool name, but there were moments in the theater when I was like, wait a minute. So when he brings Madeline to his base, I started laughing, and my friend Jim was like, why are you laughing? Is he still building his base? Like, did they come too early? Because I'm watching people, like, raking the sand. I'm like, so wait, you weren't even ready to have guests? You just... So the whole time I'm like, jeez, that's really unprepared. So that was just...
I thought it was more for aesthetics or something.
Yeah, but...
It's like a Zen garden or whatever.
But the ending was kind of everything. I almost felt like the mission itself didn't matter to me as much, because it focused on, you create something that deadly. Why would you create something that deadly and not create like a cure for it? MI6 is really incompetent at that part. It's like, we created this lethal thing, but you didn't create an nobody thought this. The world you live in. You can't. This is the one thing, super weapon, that will never fall into the wrong hands.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jerry. I was way more invested in the family drama. Like, there didn't have to be some big virus, biotech thing, whatever. Like, just the 4 of them, like, James Bond, his daughter, his girlfriend, and Safin. Like, a showdown just with the 4 of them would have been enough for me.
And I felt that when I was watching it, the moment that I started rewriting the film was in the forest scene, because at that point it became more of, okay, because every hero has to go through one crucible, one moment in order to be free. There's always this one thing that transitions you from where you were to where you are. In biblical term, the crucifixion had to happen. There's a moment where it's like, there's no other way, but he had to go through that to change. in Batman Arkham Knight, Batman has to go through something so terrifying that he technically dies. He has to. The character, in whatever form he is, has to die. And they told us that. 007 wasn't there anymore. Like, the moniker, the title passed on to someone. And I felt as though, okay, if the movie then is a vehicle in which that life ends, because when he leaves Madeline he puts her on the train, it's almost as if even when he's on the boat, he literally is wasting his time. There's nothing, he's not living for anything. Boating, fishing, and all that, going to the club, he's not living for anything. Felix gives him an opportunity and all those things, and then he's still doing his James Bond thing, but there's no momentum for him to do anything. But then when you're introduced to Madeline Swan and a little bit of that, and you go, here's a glimpse of something you could live for. And if you're willing to protect that, you're willing to, like, then you giving that up, saying, it's almost like James Bond towards the end was saying, I'm not deserving of any of that. Which that was what the 5 minutes to me were actually pretty sad, was the character in my eyes going, I'm not deserving of that. Which was such a weird twist, because, and I realized that when he puts them in the boat and he pushes them out, for some reason the lighting is different. It's almost like he's sending them away. And he sits there, he's in the darkness and everything else, but he's pushing them out into the light. That contrast was interesting. And he goes back in, and he goes back into his former life, which is why he's killing all these people with ruthless efficiency. This is what he can do. That was the sadness for me as I was watching the movie at the end, was James Bond was given an opportunity, a second chance to gain back something, to live another life. But because of the person he is, it's almost like he doesn't know how to do that. He doesn't know. And then there was another scene, which is in the kitchen, like when they wake up and the little girl's like, I'm hungry. By the way, the usage of French, make movies like this, for this French speaker, I was like, my God, what? More? And you watch, like, he's making this thing for her and she's watching. And then he's like, okay. And he sits there twiddling his thumb like a nervous chef that's getting his food tasted. And then she goes, not bad. There's all these elements in it. And I thought the sadness of the movie is, in my eyes, is James Bond incapable of living that life because he knows the person he is. So that's how I saw the movie. And by the silence that you guys have, it's like, what the heck did you watch?
I get it. Like, another friend of mine made the point to me. He's like, well, maybe it's best, like he does get killed off then when he has changed, when he has become a better man, a better person, and like embrace this family of his. Because then, like, I guess his point was like kill him when he is a good man, I guess or something. Because then like there's no temptation for him to go back to being the ruthless killer he was before. I'm like, I get that to a point, but I don't buy that.
No, I don't buy that.
I think if he had lived, he would have been with his family.
I agree. I don't think he ever would have gone back at that point. Yeah,
I think that's...
he'd already given up the life of a spy. It was only this mission that put him back on that path, and then he finds out he has a daughter, and then I think like immediately like something changes in him, and he's just like, she is my priority. Madeline, she is my priority. Like, I'm living for those two now.
Yeah,
because he was living for nobody before.
And we saw that he was living for nobody. And another character that needs to be talked about in the movie was Felix. I love Jeffrey Wright's Felix.
That was hard.
Him coming back.
I love Jeffrey Wright's version.
Yeah, I did not like the fact that he died. Like, when he died, I went,
what was the point?
It was such a sad thing, but all I could think about, and again, I'm not a violent person, but all I could think about is like, if you find that, I hope it's a brutal, merciless death. Like,
and
it was, and I was like,
lets him get crushed by a car.
As soon as I saw that, it was so weird. I'm in the theater. As soon as he dies, I'm like, yes. I was like, what is wrong with you? I went to go see this in a matinee, so there was me and a bunch of old people, like senior citizens, watching James Bond. So watching some guy like die, I'm like, yes. Felix, Jeffrey Wright's character, was he's on a roll right now because he's Commissioner Gordon. He's the Watcher. He was in the first Casino Royale. So
he's kind of I think he is one of the last characters in the franchise who was in at the very beginning.
He was at the very beginning, yeah.
I think there might be who's like M's number 2 guy?
Tanner? Is that Tanner?
Yeah. Like he's the only other carryover I think.
Yeah.
Left from Casino Royale because everybody else came in later.
So now we talked about just the ending and the things we wanted from it. So let's shift to just in terms of the presentation of how this movie was shot. There were the intro sequence was harrowing. I mean, when the motorcycle went up and you just that blew my mind in terms of just that was an amazing shot.
Also, did he interrupt a Corpus Christi?
Yes, he
procession?
did.
I don't think it was Corpus Christi. I think it was a statue or something. But
Yeah, it
Mary
was.
procession, something like that.
Yeah. I heard just like, oh, that's so mean.
If you can't tell,
I think you know, so like I hope that wasn't the real Eucharist when they filmed that. I'm sure it was not. I'm sure that was just a hoax unconsummated.
I feel like it was a statue. I don't know.
I doubt like the local church would like get their permission for that, you know. So
yeah, because that would be that's a no. That's a big no. It's not even it's frowned upon. It's just a no. Another good scene for me which I thought was. It's not even an action scene. It's when Q's at home and he's getting ready for his date or something, and then he's like, "All right, sure." And then he looks, and just there's this look on that face of like, "Oh, like
dang
it, I just want." And then
peace.
he keeps moving the cat. The cat keeps going, and then he's like,
There was
Q.
a moment where they're in Norway or whatever,
Yeah.
and so like James Bond knows that they're like tracking him,
Uh-huh.
and so they get in like the station wagon
Yeah.
because you know he rolled up in like an Aston Martin or whatever. But of course now they have a kid, so they gotta take the minivan or whatever.
So true of
So
real
they're, like,
life.
driving away, and you can see these like evil cars like coming in their direction. And then of course you're like, whoa, but wait a minute, he's not driving his own car, he's driving like the little minivan or whatever. And then they go past, and then I'm like, yeah, because they don't expect James Bond to be driving a station wagon.
So what about you, Bray? Was there a scene that you went like, wow, this was okay?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd say like the kind of final battle, you know, before he's blown up unnecessarily. You know, he goes back to the base, even though Nomi could have done that. Anyway, sorry. You know, there's one shot of him. It's supposed to be like a gun barrel type shot, right? Where he like turns the corner and just shoots.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So like that was cool. I think I probably cheered it like, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that stairwell scene was like a continuous.
It was
take.
with the exception of when.
I think there is like, or at least they want it to look like it is.
For me, I love just taking space back and just letting. It's kind of like when I was watching Sabrina, you know, not the parody, the actual one.
I like the new one.
Yeah,
But
the Harrison Ford one is great, Jerry.
but like in the other one, you have Hepburn just by the tennis court. The lens is wide. You see her there, and then Bogart walks into the. I love shots like that just let the imagery breathe. So we're gonna go to the next section is one of two, which is we're gonna talk about the characters. It's unavoidable, kids, because we live in an age where we don't want to talk about Me Too and everything, but with this franchise, the depiction of women and how they're utilized is unavoidable, right? Because even if you watch any of the Sean Connery ones, you'll just be like, Sean Connery, again, a different time, Sean Connery said something on TV once, which
was sad.
Which was pretty bad when he goes like, yes, like when they asked us, like, do you think it's alright to hit a woman? If the situation warrants it, for like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was one of those moments where like,
okay. Some women are just asking
for
something like that. Like, yeah, no, sir, Sean,
no, but you know, you also have, you know, the other thing as adults is you have to, you know, differentiate between the art and the artist. But in this case, with this franchise, which is notorious for its depiction of women as object, as things to lust after, how did you guys think that it handled it going this? Even just, you know, we don't even have to go that far back. We remember Casino Royale pretty well. So how did you guys see the change? Was it apparent of a change, and how did you guys respond to that?
Yeah, there are two scenes that stand out in my mind, and they're both like, if it were a different Bond, it would have been handled differently. But like, so the scene where Nomi drives him home, and then, you know, he's like, do you want a drink? And then she like walks into the bedroom, and he's like, okay. Like, and then
Make
she
yourself
takes off
comfortable.
her wig, and he's like, "Oh, that's not what I thought you were gonna take off," or something like that. And then when Anna de Armas' character takes him into the wine cellar to change into his tuxedo, and they're both just kind of like, "What are we doing here exactly?" And he's just kind of like, "Why? We're so close. Like, what's the reason behind this?"
Yeah, and he has this line where it's like, well, maybe we should get something to drink first. Like, he's taken aback by the whole experience, but then she goes, no, and he's like, oh, right.
I mean, Bond is actually kind of monogamous the whole movie. I mean, he only has sex with Leah Seydoux' character, Madeline,
Yeah, I
at the
noticed that.
beginning, and then I think
That's
when
the only
they
one.
Meet up in Norway. Did he? I mean, I think they're in bed together when the daughter wakes up or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely noticed a post Me Too thing, which was great. I mean, I liked it, you know. Right, with is Anna de Armas, something like that, with that character. You know, in a lot of Bond movies, they would, kill a bunch of people together, do a mission together, and they sleep together, right?
Right.
They didn't do that. They're like, all right, great job, and they both part ways. And like, okay, if this was an earlier Bond, that wouldn't have happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really well done. I think it just shows, just being respectful towards women. She was dressed in a way I had to look away from the screen during a lot of that fight scene because I'm like, all right, she doesn't need to be dressed up properly. Sorry, she doesn't. That annoyed me.
Okay.
But I did appreciate that they don't get busy together after their mission. That was really cool. Also, I would say they don't make James Bond have a son. They make him have a daughter.
That was an interesting call.
That was interesting. I mean, obviously, okay, well, it's a 50-50 chance, so it's one or the other. So if it's a boy or a girl, or it's a 51-49, I don't know, whatever it is. So, but I thought that was cool that they make him have a daughter. You know, like Indiana Jones had a secret son in the fourth movie that never happened.
Man, we should, one day it just goes like the movie we rant about. Starting
Jesus, the Crystal Skull is terrible.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad one.
But he has a daughter, and one of his last words is like, "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Like, I thought that was cool, and I'm sure they intentionally have him have a daughter for that, because of his past, his ways with women and everything, and that plays a part in his changed ways. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Hollywood has discovered that we just love dads. We love kick-ass dads.
Yeah. I mean, The Mandalorian.
Mandalorian is one example.
Mhm.
The Last of Us, I guess, is also a thing.
Man, The Last of Us. If you've never,
anything that Pedro Pascal's in, apparently.
because wait, he's in The Last of Us?
No, there's other stuff that he's
Oh
in
my
where
gosh,
he kind of had the same vibe of I have
he was
kids.
in Wonder Woman. He was the dad in Wonder Woman 1984. I thought it was interesting. I think for me, just in terms of the women in the film, they were utilized well. I mean, for me, it was, for example, Naomi, her double character, and she's just kind of staking her territory. She's 007, and she's proud of that. She probably knows the lineage of that number. It's it's like the best of the best. It's and so she's proud of that. And the former guy comes in and he just has all these connections that she hasn't made. And I thought, okay, I love that was a bit of that friction was interesting because the workplace, you get a lot of that here and there. The ending when he loses his daughter and Madeline, the fact that she comes up and realizes what's going on, that in that moment goes, okay, let me help you. I love little moments like that when maybe not your antagonist or someone you're just butting head with, he sees you at your weakest, maybe at a moment of not failure or something, but goes, okay, there's something much bigger here, let me help. I thought that was really great. And I thought Anna de Armas' character was funny.
Yeah, she was funny.
And I was just like, oh my, she
made 2-week training her.
Because when he meets her, she's drinking a Coke. She's
really?
so nervous.
That, yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay. She's like, oh, right. She's just, and I'm like, oh, dang it, just give her more screen time. I felt like there was a character there. And I'm like, all right. So, and we're kind of segueing here. We're talking just also how James Bond interacts. There was, yes, he is focused on Madeline, but I also thought he's just a character that likes women. I think that's just apparent, and there's nothing wrong with that. And he does.
I would prefer if he didn't sleep around.
That.
Oh man, he has some problems. He slept with one of his coworkers. got her killed. Slept
Yeah.
with a former child prostitute, got her killed. Slept with a widow the day of her husband's funeral. I don't think she died.
I was gonna say this is good.
Like, you know,
Spectre, right?
Takes Madeline and like endangers her with Spectre and.
So it's Moneypenny.
Oh, he did.
Skyfall, yeah, you slept with Moneypenny.
Oh,
he
that's
did?
right, he
I thought
did.
they specifically didn't.
No,
They had a night together.
They had a night.
Oh.
Because when she says and was like, you shot him, it's like, how many people have like tried to kill him? It's like, it depends. I don't know. She says something.
Pretty much everybody.
Pretty much everybody's like shot him. I'm like, that's
Skyfall, yep.
Skyfall. You're right. You're absolutely right. Change. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, his past is what it is, but this one it tried to course correct, and I also thought the infusion of humor was really good. You know, when she goes, "There's something I have to show you." Another kid, like, you know,
oh, that was funny. That was funny.
when he's like another kid, he's like confused, and the jokes that he had with Felix is like, Felix, he smiles too much. Like that, I love it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
He's definitely like, 5 years of retirement or whatever, or 2 years, whatever it is, has really kind of changed his mood. The fact that like not being around death constantly and not having to kill people might be good for your psyche. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, there was that, and then I love that. Just so the depiction of women has definitely changed, and I think it's for the best because there's just been a lot of cultural change that has affected all of us, and just in terms of our growth. One time you and I were watching A League of Their Own. We could barely watch that movie.
That was awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so awkward. We're like, oh man, and it's good to have that because it goes to the past is great, but we need to change and grow. So I like that. But then so after this James Bond film, did you want to see more with this version of what James Bond was? Did you want to see, for example, another film? Like, let's just say who James Bond is now, with the characters, with everybody, minus the last 5 minutes, right? If I could take that away, would you be, with this version of Bond, with what he's done and what he's changed, would you be open to seeing another one?
I wanted just to end it with him, with his family, and that's it. Just end the Craig era.
Yeah.
Tied up peacefully and happily, Dark Knight Rises style, and then start over with another Bond. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig's been doing this for
15 years.
15 years. Like, he's not.
Well, I'm not talking about
spring chicken anymore.
No, I'm not talking about the actor, obviously. I'm just talking about the reinvention of who James Bond is, because he has changed radically from Spectre to now. The character is completely different. With this version of James Bond, would you want to see another film with that same ilk?
No, I liked his arc in this one, minus him dying. Yeah.
Okay. Which reminds me, there's another funny scene in the movie is when James comes through, he crashes at the bar. He literally walks up and goes like, takes 2 glasses.
I'm like, bro, you have things to do. Why are you drinking?
He literally just puts these 2 glasses, so it's like, I love that. It's, the world's on fire, but you know what? There's still time for a good cocktail. There's still time. So that's going to bring it to an end. Overall, we'll say it's one of the better ones. The last 5 minutes infuriated, I think, 2 people on this panel. Had very strong emotions about it. I personally thought there was an ending in there that I really would have wanted to see, which is, this is something you can have. And I think, but again, that's neither here or there.
Okay, so here's how I would have ended it. I shared this with Brett.
How would you have ended it?
Okay, so he gets shot or whatever, and he gets poisoned with the nanobots.
Yeah.
And then, you can never see them again. But then, like, I don't know, however many months later, they figure out, like, a cure.
Yeah.
And then they, like, meet him. They are on a train, and the train arrives, and they get off, and he's waiting for them at the station.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
Because that's bookending with what.
So I think we can all.
The movie.
I think we can all agree that, like, him dying, that just cheapens the possibilities.
So
It's a little. It's lazy. It feels lazy.
As I said earlier, it feels like we watched two. Like, there was 2 movies here, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's all like, oh, he's kind of still hanging on to Vesper, and he needs to let go and be, to have like a good relationship with this woman.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, and then at the end he dies. So it's like, well, what was the point of the stuff at the beginning then? If he's just gonna die anyway.
So, yeah, no, that's a good ending. those are going to be our final thoughts. I mean, I'm sorry, Brett, did you have any final thoughts on the
Yeah,
film?
I like Corinne's idea of an alternate ending. I would have maybe done something different, something similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they come up with an antidote for those whatever they call them, nanobots or whatever.
Yeah.
Even if he gets shot and loses a hand or something, I don't know. Like he lives. Shame on you, screenwriters. Shame on you, Daniel Craig. You had the influence to change the ending. You didn't. Shame on you, Robert Broccoli and Carrie Joe. What's his name, the director? Anyway.
So I guess
I really wanted a universe where James Bond is happy and he's taking his daughter to football practice. And by football, I mean soccer. But, you know.
Yeah.
Like I really just
Could've
want
done
him. He could be a stay-at-home dad, a house husband, if you will.
Okay, so we obviously wanted Ted Lasso, but that's not what we got. So
Damn it! That'd been awesome.
So, but yeah, so that's gonna do it for today's James Bond review. Thank you for joining us. I also like to thank my two guests, Corinne and Brett. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry. Sorry to get a little passionate.
That's good. And so next time we get together, we're gonna go over Dune, which, oh my gosh, I just there are a couple of there. Dude, man, I could rant about this for another 2 hours, but that's not tonight. All right, and with that said, we'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.